Welcome to Coffee and Cannabis. I'm your host, Alyza, and this is...
Corey, what's up?
And you guys already know, we are back at NECANN. Yo, shout out to Mark and his team for inviting us and allowing us to be here all the way in Massachusetts. So, of course, I'm going to have some Massachusetts heavy hitters. Why are we not going to talk to people that are going to be able to add some value, right? So today we have an incredible guest. His name is Ross Bradshaw from Newdia. Please give it up.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for being here. But of course, before we get into it, our coffee. We got some good convention coffee today, right?
Yeah. Convention life.
But you know, we bring our own cups because you know how we do. And then for weed, well, we're inside, but Corey got me a nice little gift. Well, actually, we got some friends that sent us some gifts.
Get the hookup.
G-Pen.
A little sneaky link.
This vape. It is a
little
sneaky link.
It's a sneaky link, yo.
This vaporizer for flower is the most incredible thing. You know, Corey and I wouldn't plug something that we haven't already used, tried, and believe in. So you definitely might see this in our stores.
Convention.
Corey, what you got?
I'm smoking wedding cake rosin from back home, but you got Mandarin Zittles in that micro.
Okay, all right.
If you should turn it on at some point.
Yeah. We might have to show them how this works. But let's get right into it. Ross, how are you?
I'm doing good.
It's so good.
I'm doing good. I can't complain. A little rainy, but I'm good.
To see you and to meet you and to hear about all the amazing things that you're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
So obviously, I mean, the first thing, selfishly, that I want to extract is some gems because you know what I'm saying? Like the great thing about the Massachusetts market is that it's so mature that us and other states, especially that are just developing, is really our opportunity to pay attention to best practice, pay attention to what works best, and what not to do also. Yeah. So before, you know, I want to get into what you're doing because Newdia, one thing that I noticed, I went to your spot yesterday, the brand, I'm a huge fan of branding, and you guys got it spot on. The branding is dope. Your location is incredible. Fenway Park. If anybody doesn't know, like, it's one of the oldest baseball stadiums. It's historical. Red Sox, not a Red Sox fan, but we're not here for that today because Fenway Park is incredible. And the immersive and interactive experience that you've created in your facility is really dope. But I want to know, like, before you even got into the space, I noticed that you were a CPA. What was your journey before you entered into cannabis?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even before that, so like growing up in college and whatnot, I mean, I paid a lot of my bills through selling cannabis. And in fact, a lot of my friends, they used to sell cannabis, and I'd help them with like their books. That's what I did. I helped them. That's how I CPA. That's how I got involved. Is you know, they come, like, hey, I got a couple of pounds, what should I sell it for? And I'd be like, well, you sell it for this amount, you can get this amount of margin. And then they'd be like, all right, well, and then they would like, oh, well, I have so-and-so in the neighborhood, can I cut them off with whatnot? And so I would help them, like, not knowing it, build out, like, business plans.
You got to be doing real weight to need an accountant.
Well, no, I wasn't
Yo, real weight illegally and get an accountant.
Yo, Ross, big trapper, yo, big trapper.
I mean, point being, though, I wasn't an accountant. And actually, I was in school for, like, engineering, and I basically was about to flunk out. And then I met this woman who was like, have you ever thought of doing accounting? You always have a job. And I was like, all right, why not? I'm good with numbers.
And he was like, I've been moving these bricks.
So then, I got into a Big Four accounting firm, one of the top in the state. And so I was...
You failed out of engineering, became a CPA, and then got to work at one of the best firms?
I did it in 2 years, too. It was wild.
Impressive.
But then I got into one of those big firms, and it was like I was living that cubicle life, and it was like, nah, I can't do this. It just wasn't for me. And then I ended up actually working with someone who was plugged in with Bose at the time, and they were going against Beats. Like, it was this big head. Remember that? It was like a headphones war.
It was a thing,
yeah.
So I was with Bose for a minute, helping them build out like financial models, and then some of the people from my past hit me up like, yeah, cannabis is legalized now. What are we gonna do about it? Like, and they need someone to help them legitimize like their business. And so I ended up saying, screw my job, and I ended up moving out to Colorado in a matter of like a week. I packed up all my stuff. I broke up with my now wife, so I got to.
You had to get that right. Yeah.
Moved to Colorado when they just legalized, and that's where I really I was rubbing shoulders with like Steve D'Angelo on Harbor side. I mean, he was the biggest retailer in the entire world at that point in time.
Yeah.
And a lot of the big wigs that were making moves out there, and then full circle, I ended up moving back after about a year and a half here to Mass, and that's when I started on my own.
Okay.
That's why I'm here. That's how we got here today.
I love it. I love it. Shout out the wife.
Yes, so we got married, so everying all worked out well.
He made up for it. He had to make that right.
So yeah, we're good. We're good now.
I love it. I'm going to follow my dreams, fam. I'm out.
Yeah.
You always get one of those in life, so you gotta.
That's true, but you know what? And sometimes it's just all part of our journey, right? Because if it's meant to be, it does come full circle. Yep. So it came back together, but then also you probably gained a tremendous amount of experience out there, just learning and.
Yeah, definitely being able to see the illicit market and then the legal market where it was going.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, in 2015, the people that were out there, they were like rock stars because no one in the country was doing it at all.
Yeah.
So that was like the hub of where to be, like a snapshot in time. It was Colorado 2015.
Yeah, Colorado.
It was crazy.
It was over in Denver, yeah.
Yep.
And plus all the MSOs, that was before MSOs and all that stuff. A lot of independent in Colorado.
Yeah, I mean, and we had the chance to see a lot of brands. This is before, like, obviously, so I work with Cookies and those guys. That was before Cookies even came about. It was before, you guys remember Open?
Yeah.
I don't know if they're still around, but that was the big name. Wana was back around.
Yeah, Wana was
back in the day. But a lot of those brands aren't around nowadays.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, that's dope.
But, yeah.
So you journeyed through, selling in college and then getting into something that resonated better with you and your skills. And then those skills led you into cannabis, back into it, which one thing that I feel like a lot of people don't really realize, and we talk about this so often, is just like the pivot and the transition and using the skills that you already had. Being a CPA, I'm sure, has helped you tremendously in being able to grow and scale your business smartly.
Yeah.
What, as a experienced operator, looking at folks from other states, give me at least two that if you can tell people, like, definitely don't do this, definitely you need to do this. Like, I think that enough people and everybody goes on stage and gives those same generic answers when they come to these conferences, but I mean, like, some real shit. I'm a business operator. I'm running this shit day to day. Like, and I just wish somebody would have said, you probably shouldn't do that.
So off the top of my head, I was actually just having this conversation with someone the other day, and I have to be I'm always careful when I say it because it doesn't always pan out for a lot of folks, and it might not. But like, coming to how I came up with basically, helping my buddies and what they were doing, selling, and then going like legitimizing it. It's always that balance when you're an entrepreneur. Like, I'm gonna take this risk, and maybe it's an outsized risk. And then you have to also take that risk and then eventually get it to a structure where it's more legitimized, right? Where it's more structured. So it's always, you always have to, you're back and forth. You always see those like movies back in the day where like, I'm out. But in being an entrepreneur, especially in this industry, you're always like there's always some shit going down, and you always just have to have that like entrepreneurial spirit where it's like never going to be stable. Right. You always got to man the ship. And so like, I keep telling myself all the time too, like, oh, this year it's gonna be a smooth sailing. That shit does not exist. Yeah. As you guys probably know, it's so you gotta just roll with the punches.
Right. Yeah. Well, as a former sailor, they always say a smooth sea never created a skillful sailor.
You're a former sailor?
I am.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
I didn't even mean it.
Yeah.
That was a nice plug. And you're right, you do have to always man the ship. And people think that they just get this thing started and then it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to be a millionaire now and I can step away. And it's like, no, you have to be in your story. You have to be making those connections. Like, you have to be running it's a business.
Yep.
It's a business.
Yeah.
And it's a business that, depending on the market and over time, gets more and more saturated, right? So then you get into the conversation of what separates you from homie on the block, the other dispensary around the corner, and so on and so forth. And if you're not ingrained in it, the culture or how your store's really performing, what are people saying about it, what Reddit is saying about it, all that kind of stuff, you kind of can get out the mix, right? You can, or get washed away.
And the wash away is going to come if you don't have a great brand.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, other things are going to impact that too, right? Like you have to have great customer service in your facility. You get enough bad reviews, people are going to stop going. You have to have a decent experience. You have to have great product, right?
Yep.
You don't have a variety. People are not going to go to you. But really, you have to have a great brand. Tell me more about Newdia and like where you came up with that idea, where you came up with the idea of the facility, how you built it out, stuff like that.
No, so I smile because when I came back home and why am I talking? Well, I reconciled with my now wife.
Okay.
She's from Colombia. She's Colombian, and so Newdia, she came up with the
lucky
name.
He alive. Y'all don't even know. This man was a dead man walking.
I was like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I didn't think about it until you asked the question. Newdia, it means new day, but it also the DIA stands for diversity in action. And so really what it was about was creating like this ecosystem where like you have people from all different ethnicities, all different backgrounds, and it's about not just talking the talk, but like actually taking action, diversity in action. And so a lot of people don't know that story of like the DIA. Is that what it's a new day? Obviously, it's Spanglish as well, but like that name also comes from like those acronyms. And for us, it's honestly something that we try to live by every single day, especially in like our Boston location. You go see our staff. I mean, I got Berkeley students that are playing the cello. I got people who are still trapping, to be honest. I mean, they are still out there trapping, and they all work together, and they work, and it's beautiful to see it. I saw it last night. I came into the shop after we had a little get-together, and it's like, to me, that's the biggest reward, is seeing people that have crazy different backgrounds, come from two different ecosystems, and yet there they are working in harmony, selling weed, and like I get to, in a sense, be behind stage, like being the conductor. And,
well,
like,
weed is like a community drug. It brings us, like, yo, if you running around high as a kite and angry,
Something's
you
wrong.
gotta figure it out, yo. Weed's supposed to make you happy. It's supposed to bring everybody together.
Yeah, yep.
So the only more diversity is the people coming in to buy.
Yeah,
That's crazy. Everybody smokes weed. For y'all that don't know, everybody smokes weed.
Yep.
Every age group, every ethnicity, every job type. The wildest shit is when you see in certain states like Jersey, where certain municipalities cops can, you see a cop come in and it's like off duty. And it's like, yo, he a cop. And he buying his shit. Or you see the homies in the full scrubs, like doctors and shit coming to buy their stuff. It's like, I support that. Just don't be high when you're working on me. But, you know, I'm with it. That's dope.
That's true. I love that story so much because it sort of has, you know, built, well, first off, you owed it to your wife.
Facts.
So the brand is now, I'm so glad now everybody knows this story,
It was the wife. It was her.
Yes.
I don't know how, I guess so.
No, listen. She's
Real
gonna
plug.
watch. She's gonna watch.
Yeah, I know.
Listen, you're never gonna hear that.
I know, it's brownie points. I'll take them. I mean, shit.
No,
Real plug.
The women are always sort of giving some power behind and everything. They always say, right, like
not behind, front and center.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. We were talking earlier about a lot of these women in politics who are running, and they have sort of this experience because of their space. So, like Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, right? Michelle Obama.
Yeah, that.
We were talking about some politicians in Jersey. Like, the women are the one, like, there's the guy who's running it, the politics, but the women are behind, sort of giving some encouragement, giving some push, giving some support, right?
Women are the hardest workers, hands down. Not even a question.
Yeah.
When I think about, like, people in, like, my entrepreneur journey that I always look at and I'm like, damn, I got to keep up. I got to keep hustling. They're all women. Not even a question. They're all women. And I'll never get to where they're at because they're always on to something new. So it's just
Listen. Shout out to Stacy who made sure we had a table cover.
Yes.
See, and I appreciate Mark. He gave us the table. But Stacy, you know, God love black women. She walked by. She was like, y'all need a table cover? I was like, yes, I do, Stacy. I do need a table cover. And she went over there and made homie come bring that thing over. Black women hold you down. Ethnic women, they're going to make sure you all right.
Yes, they are. And very successful. And I love that this has such a, just like a family feel, right? Like, you started from being with your friends and supporting them and what they were doing, created your own brand that's along with, you know, has something to do with your wife, and then just the name, like intentionality. I think that that's really one thing that I want to make sure everybody takes away here, because anyone that you see that comes on here and has a great story, it's never some like throw it in the air, like to Newdia, but then also for the DIA to have such a prominent, say it again. I want to make sure that people, what is it? Diversity in action.
Yeah.
also tying that in with cannabis, right? There's so many companies that it's sort of like a requirement to do some of this work, but it's another thing if you are sort of a mission-driven brand and this work is part of your mission anyway.
Yeah, and you touched upon it. It's a family business, so I had like when I first opened my dispensary, even before that, I put everybody on. So I had my pops working for me, I had my 2 sisters working for me, I had my nephew working for me, and those same dudes that was doing their books, best believe they were working for me, and they still do for this day.
Big Trapper, Kingpin, Ross.
I mean, but that also comes with a lot of family.
Well, there's that.
Of course.
Things happen.
But that's really our role here, right? To like support others, to put people on, and for generational wealth.
Yeah.
Everybody's always screaming it, but it's one thing to like see it in action. You are an individual who started a facility and you were able to give so many people jobs.
I agree.
That's life-changing.
So when you say, like, even when you talk about generational wealth, I was talking to someone about this, like with Boston, us opening that dispensary, that was a huge risk. And when I did it, like the cannabis industry, as you guys know, is crazy. Like just between taxes and like who knows how it's gonna financially all pan out, right?
But you take the chance.
You take the chance. But for me, when I did it, I thought about like my daughter and my kids. I was like, when you talk about generational wealth, it's also that knowledge that like, even if you fail at something and it goes up in smoke, like what's that nugget of information that you can get that you can pass on to the next
the business knowledge and acumen that you can push on to your next level. Yeah.
And for me, I always feel like that's a responsibility for like the next generation where like, you know, we don't have, coming where I came from, we didn't have those opportunities. And like, I don't know, now I know lawyers and accountants and attorneys and all that, but like, had I not taken those leap and put myself in that room, the next generation, my kids wouldn't have that exposure.
No, absolutely.
So I always look at it like, hey, I'm playing with house money.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, it's really not for our lives; it's for theirs.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. The real generational wealth, like people are making money in cannabis, but no one is making that, right? Like there's so many, we're not federally legalized, we're paying so many taxes, I'm sure your rent is super high where it's at. Like there's all these restrictions and everybody just sees people in weed and think everybody's a billionaire. Yep. But the reality is that if we continue and we do get sustainability or we grow strong enough companies that can be sold, these are the things that can help our kids, the next generation.
Without a doubt. Like my GM, one of my GMs, he's actually, all of my GMs don't even have a college education, and they're making 3 times what they would have out on the market, and they have a skill set that, like, hands down, I'm like, okay, damn, if I was that young and I had that pathway forward, I mean, they can go work for whoever right now and make 6 figures without a college degree. Like
that's not really a reality nowadays. You know, for straight-laced, normal, non-entertainment or sports work, to have that on your resume, that skill set. That real world knowledge without having to get a degree, that's big. I think the bigger thing is it's not even just like people always talk about, oh, well, how much money are you making, or generational wealth from a standpoint of passing down money, right? But there's also wealth as far as generational wealth as passing on options.
Yep.
Right? Like when I was growing up, my mom made it very clear, you were getting a scholarship to college or you were going in the military. I had 2 options, right? Where your children might have the option of, I'm going to go run my dad's store, or I'm going to go start my own business from the information that my dad got from running his business, or go to college, or, you know, whatever. But there's more than one option. There's more than 2 options now. You've built options for people. Same thing like you just said with your GMs. You've given them that opportunity. They got that on their resume. They got to learn the experience, and they have the experience now on a piece of paper to now have options, right? Whether it's more options as you and your business grow, or maybe they grow into something else and they want to do their own thing, but they have an option now. And I think that's the part of generational wealth sometimes people don't talk about, because options matter.
I want to take it a bit further because there's a little bit more that we get from this experience that a lot of folks don't think about. Yeah, we're giving them those options, but also like the know-how, the social capital, right? You just said, now I know attorneys and all these people none of us knew before. Sometimes I look at my life and I'm like, yeah, I could call none of these people when I was 16 or 17 years old. Like, and what would my life have been if my mom's friends were these kind of people, right? Educated, connected.
Sponsor.
This is how people navigate without college degrees, without going through arduous interview processes. Your friends put you on because they know that you're worthy and they know that you have value. if you have the capital to do so. So I think our kids have a lot to look forward to. Before we wrap, one thing I definitely want to touch on is even your expansion and creativity of like getting involved with other spaces beyond just Newdia, right? A lot of people think like, oh, let me just get my brand and like just pump into this one thing. And that is important. However, you can't always put your eggs in one basket, right? We come from not that much, so generational wealth is going to take more than just this one thing. So talk to me about your partnership with Cookies in Worcester and like how that all came about and how that's going.
Yeah, definitely. So prior to opening in Boston, Newdia was always the brand, always the concept behind it. But as I was opening the doors for Worcester, where I live now, Berner and that crew, they were trying to launch on the East Coast.
Okay.
And so they approached me. We met through a mutual friend, and they were like, "Hey, we got some big plans to try to expand on the East Coast." And for me, it's always been about like, how do you create a brand? How do you get how do you kind of create like a moat around yourself that way you can have opportunity that folks can't. And so as we were talking, I was like, okay, this could be something that could help us build the Newdia brand behind it. And for me, as we talked about, like not knowing the attorneys, not knowing lawyers, me is like I can learn a lot from this whole playbook in terms of like how to structure the dispensary and how to do it big. And so we did that in a quick time frame where, it's talking with Berner like, hey, let's open up the first East Coast Cookies branded dispensary under the Newdia crew. And so, like, once again, I still, to this day, I got my people working that they operate the cookie store. Like, my father, my sisters, they run it. And I was like, all right, I got my crew, I got my people. I love the Cookies brand. I love the product, what it stands for. Let's find a way to bring this energy together. And then from there, I was able to kind of learn just like the small things, too, like POS systems. Mm-hmm. I was able to learn flow. Because, mind you, I have zero experience in retail. I mean, now I do. I'm a badass retailer. But, like, getting in the game 4 years ago, I was an accountant. I don't know none of that. But I was able to learn through Cookies. I was able to learn quickly. And then I took that playbook. I took what they had, and I modified it. We twisted it. We did a little something different with it. And now that's what kind of gave birth to this new Newdia 2.0 in Boston.
No, that's super cool. That's dope. It's like almost like you went through like Cookies University,
right? And
then took what you needed from it and got your own now.
Exactly.
And that's a great lesson for people to learn because in Jersey we see a lot of different situations like that, right? And some of them are very positive, like yours, where they're able to run their own store and really be a part of it. And then there's others where it doesn't necessarily look like that. And I think folks need to understand when they have these partnerships together, what is their end goal? Instead of just like, oh, I have this license and I want to make a ton of money, it's like, what is your goal? And for you to come in and say, this is a strategic partnership because I can use this to learn. People also don't humble themselves. Everybody thinks they know everything, right? But let me use this to learn. They have a playbook. They've been doing it on the West. They're doing it very successful. Why would I not take what they, already figure out? And then now when I do have the opportunity to make my own, I got the playbook already.
And then we modified that playbook like crazy because there were certain things where like, hey, I know this community. I have my squad running this. Like there's certain things that I knew. It was just making these small tweaks, right? With any dispensary or any business, that I think that's the biggest issue with a lot of like, not even in cannabis. You think about chains, right? Like some reason why they don't hit in certain markets is because they're not speaking to that customer base.
There you go.
They may have great product, but you gotta make it more of a authentic, and that's what we did with our store. We made it a Cookies authentic neighborhood spot where anybody who's a plug, anybody who wants to go, basically knows like, hey, yeah, it's a cookie store, but I know my homie, he runs that place.
Right.
Yeah, and that's a wild thought to think of like a brand like Cookies, like the cookie stores is the neighborhood spot. But to integrate that into it, that's big.
Yeah.
That is profound. Yeah, like you go into a cookie store, people don't know the operator because they just see it as a cookie store. They always automatically think it's MSO. And granted, it is, but the intricacy of it, they don't understand. So that your community, and the only reason the community knows that is because you're in it.
Yeah, and they know it's Newdia. So they also know it's Newdia Cookies Crew. And for me, I agree. A lot of those partnerships don't work because you gotta, back to what we said, you gotta man that ship still. You still gotta it's great you got like this brand on it, but like who's running it?
Absolutely.
So
Well, thank you for doing the work,
Thank you,
right?
guys.
Setting the example. When you had said earlier that you went over to Colorado and, it sounds like you were very, very wise in making sure that anytime you went to the table and you were going to do it yourself, that you made sure you gained the knowledge that you needed to do it effectively. And I feel like a lot of folks don't do that. They just jump right into it. They're not interested in going to see other markets and seeing what they're doing well. They're not humble enough to learn from other folks. And I hope that this is a testament of doing that work and what that success could look like, and also what the work looks like when you're in the community, when you listen to the community, right? And again, you just show up every day. You show up and you lead, and that's clearly what you're doing.
Trying, at least.
I love it. Keep manning the ship.
Yeah. Will do.
And I appreciate you coming on. Corey, you got anything?
No, I got to go over there later on. I'll go back over to Fenway. I showed up too late last night, and we was moving and ripping. I didn't get a chance to go in the store. We drove by, and you was like, "Oh, this." You told me and pointed it out, but I didn't get a chance to go in and buy some things. So
Yeah, definitely check.
I got to support financially.
Yes,
it's a good time. We got great products too. So
well, we will definitely be back there later because I know you got some wellness events. That's my jam.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, that's my jam. Some sound bath and stuff.
Audio
right?
healing or whatever.
Sound bath.
Sound bath too.
I got you.
See, that's your thing. It's not my shit. I just know.
Well, look, before we let you go, we do want to gift you with our infamous OG Coffee and Cannabis hat. It's only given, never sold. You can only get it if you've either been on the podcast or one of us personally gives it to you. So I hope that you enjoy and appreciate you coming on so much. Guys, continue to watch. We're here, NECANN, Massachusetts.
Hit the button and stuff.
Like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you guys all next time. Peace.